Welcome back, everyone, to Robots vs. Vampires. I'm Adrian Smith.
And I'm Julia Jones.
Excited to really get into today's story.
Yeah, this one.
It's a fascinating one.
It really is.
It's got a little bit of everything we love.
It does.
On this show.
Yeah.
We've got a futuristic world. We've got vampires.
We do.
And we've got a whole lot of scientific ingenuity going on.
And that's really what makes this one so interesting, right?
Right.
It's not just your typical vampire story. It's about like what happens when the rules of this world are completely rewritten.
Okay, so let's set the stage for our listeners.
Yeah.
We're in a future where vampires are in charge. Humans are struggling to survive.
Yeah.
But there's a twist.
Always a twist.
A human resistance fighter named Anya. She figures out a way to turn vampires back into humans.
Yeah, and this isn't magic.
No.
This is science.
Right.
Anya is a scientist, and she develops this synthetic blood substitute. No. Think about it like a super advanced futuristic blood bank.
Right.
And she manipulates this blood substitute into a cure.
Wow.
But here's where it gets really interesting.
Right.
The way that she uses this cure, she weaponizes it.
Oh.
She doesn't just give it to individual vampires or anything. She finds Elias, who is a very powerful, ruthless young vampire lord.
Okay.
And she uses him as like a test subject.
As a guinea pig.
Yeah.
Right.
And because vampires share blood as part of their rituals, the cure spreads like wildfire through their ranks.
Oh, wow.
So it turns their strength into a weakness.
Oh, that's clever.
It's a brilliant plan, but it's also morally ambiguous.
Right.
Is it justified to use someone like that?
Even if they are a vampire.
Even if they are a cruel vampire lord as a guinea pig.
Right.
This is where the story starts to grapple with some really big ethical questions.
No. Right. And the story really doesn't shy away from the fallout either.
No, it doesn't.
Like, imagine you're a vampire.
Yeah.
You're used to being at the top of the food chain.
Yeah.
You're immortal, powerful.
All powerful, right?
And then suddenly, boom, you're faced with your own mortality.
Your own mortality and, like, betrayal from your own kind.
That's got to be so
bad. That is terrifying.
Yeah.
The chaos is immediate and it's widespread.
Oh, we're back.
Alliances crumble, suspicion runs rampant.
Yeah.
And that battle for survival takes on this whole new terrifying dimension.
Right.
What's so fascinating about this story is it explores the psychological impact of this sudden power shift.
Oh, yeah.
Not just the physical battle.
It makes you think about what makes someone a hero. Like, what are they willing to sacrifice for the greater good?
Right.
Anya, she achieves a victory for humanity.
Yeah.
But is it really a victory?
That's the question.
If it comes at such a cost.
Yeah.
And then what happens next?
Right. What happens
after all this?
What happens after?
What's the next chapter?
Yeah, we're going to unpack all of that.
Okay.
As we go deeper into this story.
Okay.
The world is irreversibly changed by what Anya has done. Both humans and vampires are left to navigate this new reality where the old rules just don't apply anymore.
Okay.
So let's dive in.
Let's do it.
Welcome back to Robots versus Vampires.
Where we are picking up right where we left off.
Talking about Anya's cure.
And the totally reshaped world.
The world that it created.
Yeah, we left off with this really dramatic power shift.
Huge power shift.
The vampires, who were once in charge,
once dominant,
are now suddenly vulnerable.
Vulnerable.
Some are even reverting back to being human.
Yeah.
And the humans who've been, living under their rule now have this massive task in front of them.
Yeah.
Rebuilding
society.
From the ground up.
Yeah, and it's not even just like the physical rebuilding.
No. There's so much more to it.
There's so much more.
It's like you hit a reset button on civilization.
Yeah, on identity even.
On identity.
Yeah.
You think about it from the vampire perspective.
Okay.
They've gone from these apex predators, immortal beings, to
immortal.
Yeah. I mean, some of them are facing their mortality.
Right.
For the first time ever.
Like ever.
That's got to be a jarring experience.
That is.
To say the least.
That is a huge existential crisis.
Yeah. And for the humans, it's not just like, oh, yay, we won.
No.
It's like, whoa.
Now what we have
a responsibility.
Will rebuild this world in a just way.
And not just for themselves.
Right.
For the vampires, too.
Yeah, these former vampires trying to integrate back into society.
It's fascinating.
It's almost like two societies are trying to be born at the same time.
At the same time, exactly.
Yeah, and the story doesn't give us any easy answers.
It doesn't.
Which is what makes it so good. Which is, I think, what makes it so compelling.
Yeah.
It's really holding a mirror up to our own history in a lot of ways.
Right, all the power struggles.
Yeah.
The revolutions.
Yeah.
We're asking,
the big question.
what happens after
the dust settles?
What comes next?
Stacks.
Yeah, one thing that really struck me was how differently Anya's cure affected individual vampires.
Oh, yeah. It wasn't a one-size-fits-all.
It wasn't like, oh, you're human now.
Yeah.
It was
messy.
It was nuanced.
Very messy.
Yeah, some went completely human.
Yeah.
Others retained some of those vampiric traits.
Yeah, like...
enhanced senses.
Yeah,
maybe a little aversion to sunlight. Right? It's still there.
Right.
So that adds this whole other layer of complexity
So cool.
to this post-revolution world.
Yeah, because now you've got diversity within the former vampire population, some embracing this new humanity. Others kind of clinging to what they were.
Right. And I imagine that's ripe for conflict.
Oh, for conflict.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
The story hints at these different factions forming. Some want coexistence.
Yeah.
Others...
maybe not so much.
Maybe they want to regain that dominance.
Yeah. So the story possibilities are endless.
Oh, yeah.
In this world.
Endless. And it all stems from this one decision that Anya made.
Yeah.
This one act that set off this chain reaction. No one could have predicted.
No one could have predicted.
And speaking of Anya, we see her at the end of this story kind of wrestling with the weight of their action.
Consequences.
She's hailed as a hero by a lot of people, but she's also carrying this burden.
Yeah.
The lives lost. The chaos that was unleashed.
The chaos.
Yeah, this isn't your typical hero's journey. This isn't like,
not at all.
You defeat the big bad guy and everyone lives happily ever after.
No, this is different.
This is about fundamentally changing the fabric of reality.
Exactly.
And now she has to live in that reality.
Yeah.
The good and the bad.
And the bad that comes with it.
It's a really powerful reminder that even with good intentions, there are consequences, ripples that we might not be able to foresee.
We can't always predict what's going to happen.
No.
But it's not all doom and gloom.
No, it's not all doom and gloom.
Right.
There's hope.
There's hope?
There's always hope.
It's a story about resilience.
Yeah.
That human spirit.
That human spirit to adapt.
To rebuild.
Yeah.
Even when it seems impossible.
Even when things are just awful.
So maybe, just maybe, this time around, they can build something better.
Something better.
A new world based on understanding.
Yeah, based on compassion.
Not fear and dominance.
Not fear and dominance.
That's a pretty timely message.
It is, wouldn't you say?
Especially given
given
the state of our world.
Absolutely.
But, before we get too philosophical, let's take a moment to gather our thoughts.
Okay.
We'll be right back.
All right.
To wrap up this discussion and leave you with some final food for thought.
Welcome back to Robots versus Vampires.
We've been talking about Anya and her cure and...
all the ripple effects?
Yeah, the consequences.
But, what does this all mean for us?
That's the big question, right?
As listeners, as people thinking about these ideas.
What can we learn from this story?
Yeah, what can we take away?
And
for me, one of the biggest things is just the power of human ingenuity.
Yeah. Anya's story really embodies that, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
Remian.
Faced with these, impossible odds.
Yeah.
She never gives up.
She doesn't give up.
She uses her knowledge of science.
And vampire society. Which is important.
Right, to craft this plan. That was,
pretty audacious.
Pretty audacious, to say the least.
Yeah.
She thought outside the box.
Yeah, no kidding. So it's a good reminder, I think, for all of us that even in the darkest times.
Even in those dark times.
Knowledge is power.
Absolutely.
And a single spark of innovation can really ignite change.
It can change everything.
Yeah. But of course, there's another side to that, right?
There's a cautionary tale here.
Cautionary tale. Anya's cure might freed humanity from the vampires, but it caused so much suffering.
Unintended consequences.
Yeah.
We don't always know.
We don't always know
what's going to happen.
Right.
And I think that forces us, as thoughtful people engaging with this story, to ask some really tough ethical questions.
Yeah.
Is it ever okay
Is it ever okay to use a weapon that fundamentally alters a species?
Right.
Even if it's for the greater good?
Even if we think. We're doing the right thing.
What about the long-term ramifications?
Oh, yeah, the stuff we can't even predict.
Yeah, who gets to decide what this new world looks like?
Right. What happens to those?
What happens to everyone who's left behind?
We were struggling with this new reality.
Yeah, it's a good question.
And I like that the story leaves those questions open.
Me too.
I think it's important.
Yeah, it's not about giving us the answers.
No.
It's about making us think.
It's about prompting that discussion.
Yeah. Those uncomfortable
but important
conversations.
Exactly.
But it's not all bad.
Doom and gloom.
There's still that thread of hope.
That resilience.
Yeah, that human resilience.
And the human spirit.
That ability to adapt, to rebuild.
To overcome.
Even when things are just awful.
Yeah, and maybe this time, with those lessons learned from the mistakes.
From the mistakes that were made.
They can actually build something better.
Build a better world.
A world where coexistence isn't just this idea.
Yeah, where it's a reality.
A reality.
That's a powerful message.
Especially today.
It is a very powerful message.
Especially today.
In our world with everything going on.
Yeah, so it reminds us.
It's a good reminder.
That the future isn't set in stone.
No.
It's shaped by the choices we make.
The choices we make.
Every day.
Individually.
Individually and collectively.
Yeah.
And I think on that note. That brings us to the end of our deep dive. Into this incredible story.
Really incredible story.
Of robots and vampires.
We hope you enjoyed this journey with us.
We did.
Into the world of robots versus vampires.
Exploring where science fiction and fantasy collide.
If you're hungry for more,
be sure to subscribe and rate.
And share.
Share this podcast.
With your friends. Tell your fellow adventurer.
Yeah, and join us next time.
For another thrilling tale.
From the realms of the impossible.
Until then, keep those imaginations firing.
And remember,
the future is ours to create.
It is.
Goodbye, everyone.